Do you feel pressured to heal or impatient about healing? Does healing feel like something you have to work hard at, like so hard that it's exhausting and leaves you questioning if the effort that you're putting in is actually worth it? Do you feel like healing is just another thing on your to-do list, and no matter how much you try to invest in healing, it never feels like it's enough? So the real block to your healing isn't that you're not doing enough, but that you're not giving yourself permission to slow down and just be. If healing feels so frustrating because you're putting too much pressure on yourself to make it happen, how can you enjoy your healing journey? A listener asked me, healing takes time, but how do we allow time to heal? And that seems like a simple question, and yet it's quite profound because it acknowledges that healing is a process, and it does take time because for the majority of people, authentic and lasting healing isn't going to happen overnight, unfortunately, but there's beauty in that. There's a reason for that. It allows you to have an adventure in your healing process. It allows you to savor the process. It allows you to really grow and learn about yourself and love yourself. But the other truth in the question is that we are bound by time in this 3D reality. And so we measure so much by time, including our healing, and that itself is a limitation. And so that's the tricky thing, right? Making peace with the fact that healing does take time, but also making peace with time in general. I say this a lot, but it's an interesting duality and reality that time is valid, it's real, but it's also not real. And so we get to choose how we relate with time. We are only bound by it when we perceive our lives through it, when we measure our lives through it, when we measure our existence, we measure our validation by time. And being human means that we did agree to operate in the constraints of time, but ultimately we're a soul. And so that means that we do on a core level understand that those boundaries are just an illusion. And so the irony is, I've lived this. When you release the timelines and the notions of I need to heal by a certain time, that's when true healing actually begins to happen. Because one, you automatically become less stressed. And two, you take your power back. You relinquish your autonomy back from time, from those external expectations. And three, when you're less stressed and you're in your power, you're in optimal healing mode, friend. Welcome to The Simple Source, your source for all things self-love, self-healing, personal growth, and spirituality. I'm your host, Linda Valines. I used to be chronically sick and unhappy. I spent years trying anything and everything to heal, but I never got better. It wasn't until my late husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer that I finally stopped searching for the answers outside of myself and turned within. I taught myself how to truly love and heal myself, how to finally be authentically healthy and happy, mind, body, and soul. I have over 10 years of personal and professional self-healing and teaching experience. I'm a trauma-informed, certified holistic health and wellness coach, certified Ayurvedic counselor, and author. I healed myself of a lifetime of complex traumas and chronic conditions with joy and ease. Now I'm teaching you to do the same. So if you're ready to heal and love yourself more, mind, body, and soul, without all the struggle and stress, and with more joy and productivity, join me to liberate your highest, healthiest, and happiest self and learn how to thrive more simply. Let's get started with today's episode. So in an earlier episode, I briefly touched upon this topic a little bit because I was talking about my own healing journey and how I was operating from this desire, this intention to completely wean off my thyroid medication by the end of this year. And it's just not going according to that plan. There's a grander universal plan at play. And so I've been dealing with all of these adjustments and symptoms as my body is weaning off thyroid medication that it's been on for like over a decade, and, gaining weight and all, losing hair. And it's just, my body's like going through a process right now, and it's not permanent, it's temporary, but it's been frustrating when I was stuck in that constraint of that quote unquote plan that I had for myself, which was ultimately like a timeline. And then when I finally let that go is when I started to experience a lessening of the symptoms, my body coming back into balance more easily, and just enjoying what this healing aspect of my journey is ultimately trying to teach me and show me. And it's been such a beautiful process. And so I really do relate and empathize with the listener's question, because it's a conflict that a lot of people have in the healing process, because we're just conditioned to produce and be perfect and achieve. And yet that mindset, that relationship that we have with ourselves and with our healing journey is actually very counterproductive to the healing process. Because again, using myself as an example, when I began my healing journey, it was very unproductive. I spent years trying anything and everything to quote unquote heal, but I wasn't really healing. I was just managing symptoms, and I was bound by a lot of external expectations. I was looking for a lot of external validation through my healing, because I was healing to become less broken. I was healing to become more whole. I was healing to become more lovable, right? Those were the actual wounded drivers behind the energetics of how I was showing up for my healing journey every day. And so that's why I struggled to heal for years, despite doing everything to heal and investing a lot of time and energy and resources into my healing journey. Not only was I just managing symptoms, but I wasn't actually addressing the core of what really truly needed to be healed, which wasn't the external symptoms, but rather the wounds and the unresolved traumas and the relationship with myself. And that's what really needed attention and love and care, all of that internal stuff within me. And so when I stopped focusing on the external, the diet, the supplements, the exercise routines, the books, the programs, and just started focusing on my internal reality, my internal health, my internal well-being, my internal truths, and shifting my energy within, and being really committed to my relationship with myself, with loving myself, with actually stressing way the fuck less about every little fucking thing, because that I realized is a very counterproductive way to not only engage with life, but to try to heal, because we can't heal when our body is in stress, i.e. survival mode. It's just, we're not designed that way. And so when I gave myself permission to slow down, to release all of those external expectations and all of those wellness trends and fads and all of that stuff that was quote unquote defining my healing journey on the outside, and I started tending to my relationship with myself and tending to my internal world, that's when I finally began to heal productively and joyfully and with ease. When I turned my focus inward, I realized that my internal environment, this is what happens when you start giving your attention to what truly matters, you start seeing your truths, you start having profound breakthroughs. I realized that my internal environment, meaning my emotions, my thoughts, my beliefs, the general state of my internal world was always stressed, was in some sort of tense state, avoidant state, some sort of turmoil, definitely some sort of anxiety and worry and fear. There was no peace within me. There was no inner freedom within me, because I also realized that there was a lack of love, like self-love, and a lack of self-trust, and a lack of connection to my true authentic self. I realized that my wound itself was in charge of my life, meaning my traumas were in charge of me and my life, not my soul, not my authentic self, not my love or my light. I was just showing up every day in a very stressful, very wounded way. And, I realized if that's how I'm showing up, I can't show up as my wounded self and heal. Like, that's a complete paradox. And that's why I was struggling to heal. I was healing without any love for myself, without any trust in myself, without any connection to who I really truly was on a core soul level. And when I began intentionally cultivating self-love, cultivating self-trust, and cultivating that connection with my true authentic self, that's when years of struggling to heal became very joyful, very productive months of expedient healing. And that's when my mind and my body were liberated to do exactly what they were designed to do, which is heal themselves. And so many people struggle to trust that they can heal, and they struggle to trust their own healing process. And so that feeling of being pressured to heal, the feeling of being impatient, that desperation, those are very common experiences for most people on their healing journeys. And this is one of the perspectives that I aim to shed light on and give focus to, because there's no reason for that. We don't need to show up for our healing or for ourselves and for our lives in that conditioned, stressful trauma response way. And the more that we do that, the more that we enforce that we have to heal in order to complete ourselves, the less that we actually do heal. Healing is so often tied to our sense of worth, believing that we're going to only be good enough when we become healed, because as we are now, we're broken. That was my mentality. That's most people's mentality as they embark on a healing journey. Something's wrong with me and I need to fix it. So many people have that wounded belief that healing is gonna make them whole, is gonna turn them into a good person because they're bad, or make them enough, or make them lovable. That within itself innately means that your healing journey is going to be defined by your wounding. And so, of course, it's not going to be enjoyable. Of course, it's not going to be productive, because you're desperate to heal. You need to heal. It's going to validate your existence, that healing. And anytime that we engage with anything in our life in that way, whether it's a commitment that we make to ourselves, a commitment that we make to our professions or to our partners or to our friends or whatever, the outcome is not going to be great, because again, it's our wounded self that's showing up. And so that desperation, that impatience, that inability to just simply relax and be with ourselves in our healing journey, that comes from unresolved trauma, that comes from unmet emotional needs, because it indicates we're over-reliant on external validation. And that's what I realized in my own healing process. My late husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He was, given 2 years left to live, an 8% survival chance, which is pretty slim, you guys. So I was chronically sick and I was unhappy, and that was my life story for, 30 plus years. And I was just determined not to spend my last 2 years with him that way. And so that was the catalyst for me to really examine how I was showing up for my healing. Why wasn't I healing after years of doing everything and trying so hard to heal? Why wasn't I healing? And that's when I finally made the connection between, my body is traumatized because I'm traumatized. And that's where that desperation energy came from. That's where all of that I need healing to validate me came from, is all of my unresolved traumas, all of my unmet and emotional needs. Again, that lack of self-love, that lack of self-trust, that lack of feeling whole in myself, that lack of feeling enough in myself, that was driving my healing journey. So essentially, what I'm saying is I was healing from a place of wounding and fear, as opposed to empowerment and love. And when I made that connection and understanding too, as I was learning about the mind-body connection, getting certified as a health coach, that stress, which is fear and wounding, that stress, that fear, that wounded way of showing up for ourselves and for our lives, that's nervous system dysregulation. That's the physiological manifestation of unresolved trauma. And so we can't heal in nervous system dysregulation. The body requires a primary state of homeostasis and parasympathetic nervous system activation and self-regulation. That's how we unlock or activate and optimize our innate self-healing capabilities. So that means we have to relax. And so I made that connection. I was like, I'm just fucking stressed all the time, emotionally stressed, mentally stressed, physically stressed, because I'm doing all these crazy extreme diets, these quote unquote healing protocols that are so restrictive and really stressful. And so I just was never in an optimal healing state. My mind and my body and my nervous system were never provided in an environment to heal. And so I made a very conscious choice to relax, to become really present, because I knew that that's what was needed for healing. And so I stopped trying to force my healing. I stopped trying to will it into being, and I released like so much internal and external expectations around it. And I just gave myself permission to be exactly where I was. And also I gave myself permission to allow healing to be more joyful, more easy, less restrictive. And in that, I innately became more relaxed, day to day, week to week. And so that over time, paired with my dedication to learning to love myself and trust myself and acknowledge my traumas and be centered in fundamental truths as opposed to, conditioned wounding, meaning really trying to embrace the fact that I was already whole, that I didn't need my healing to be whole. I was just healing because my body and my mind were traumatized. And that didn't mean that I was broken. It just meant that I'm unfortunately like a lot of people in the world who deal with trauma. And so I stopped chasing healing essentially and gave myself permission to really relax and to just being me wherever I was. And when I started to engage in my healing journey that way, I really began to heal in such a profound and productive way, because not only was I telling my body I'm safe, like I'm actually in command of my holistic being, and I love my holistic being. I trust my body to heal. I trust myself to heal. I was sending those positive healing messages to my mind and my body, but also my day-to-day life like completely transformed because I was engaging with my day-to-day life in a more healing way, in a relaxed way, in a present way, in a self-loving way. And so if you want to know how to relax into your healing journey so that you can effortlessly prioritize it in a way that is harmoniously balanced with the rest of your life, you have to cultivate that kind of relationship with yourself and with your healing journey. Like you have to make your peace, your ease, your freedom a priority. And know that when you do that, healing is naturally going to happen. And it's going to happen way more quickly and way more productively than you trying to force and you trying to desperately will it to happen as quickly and as perfectly as possible. Because what you're really healing in the healing journey is you're healing your relationship with yourself, mind, body, and soul. That's what you're healing. You're not healing to be unbroken. Just because you have symptoms, just because you're heartbroken, just because you've had a lot of trauma, doesn't mean that you are broken. That is a societal, unchallenged trauma narrative that we all need to stop feeding into. We're born whole. We're whole every single day of our lives, and we will leave this earth whole. That's not the point of healing. The definition of healing is a reclamation of your wholeness, your freedom, and your well-being. It's a reclamation. It's not a creation of. It's you going, hey, I'm already whole as I am. I'm going to embody this knowledge now, mind, body, and soul. And so that happens when you stop focusing on what it is that I'm doing externally to quote unquote heal and meet these healing timelines and standards and expectations. And you just focus on that relationship with yourself. Will you make that relationship with yourself more important than anything else in your life? That's when you honor what your healing journey is really truly about. Life is just a series, it's just a collection of relationships. That's what life is. Your relationship with your home, your relationship with your family, your relationship with your pets, your relationship with your purpose, with your work, with your finances, with your food, with your exercise or the lack of it, with nature, with social media. Life is just a series and collection of relationships, including your relationship with time. It's all just relationships. And those relationships are just extensions of your relationship with yourself. So when you prioritize building and loving and trusting yourself and fostering a patient and compassionate and understanding and easy relationship with yourself, you don't need to have a tense relationship with yourself. Like, that's wounding. That's trauma narrative. That's witnessing dysfunctional relationships growing up that were reinforced as you came into adulthood and that have been unchallenged. But that dynamic of relating with self and other isn't healthy, because nothing in nature relates in a forceful and manipulative and contrived way. There's an ease and a flow to how nature naturally relates to itself. There's no resistance. It's like, the wind doesn't resist the rain. It just, they coexist. And the storm doesn't feel intimidated by the mountain, and the mountain, doesn't fear the storm. They're in relationship with each other. They're serving each other in some way. And so when we adopt that mindset with ourselves and with our healing journey, then it becomes so much more natural, where we can then flow with our own destiny and what it is that we have agreed to learn and live through in this lifetime, because that is all funneled through your relationship with yourself. And when you cultivate a relationship with yourself that is easier, that is less resistant, that isn't so forceful and manipulative and fearful, you're going to change every single aspect of your life, because again, your external relationships are just a reflection of your relationship with yourself. And so if your relationship with yourself is rooted in greater love, unconditional love, that's key, greater trust and patience and compassion and understanding, everything in your life is going to change, including your healing journey. And so the more that you focus on your relationship with yourself, meaning how you feel about yourself, what you think about yourself, what you believe about yourself, and you become more present in yourself, you're going to become naturally more self-aware, okay? And that self-awareness is the gateway to not only being mindful, but being truly empowered in the present moment. Healing happens in the present moment. So if you're not present, you are not healing. Meaning, if your wounded narrative is taken over, you're thinking about the future, you're thinking about the past, and you're not fully embodied in the present moment, there's some sort of dysregulation going on, right? Because you're not conscious. That means your subconscious mind has taken over. And if you are not in command of your subconscious mind, and you're relating to your healing journey in a desperate and impatient way, that's like indicative of your wounding, your wounded self, your unresolved traumas have taken the wheel, okay? So of course you're not going to be present. So of course you're not really healing in the present moment. So that self-awareness that you cultivate by prioritizing a relationship with yourself allows you to be in command of the present moment, allows you to be in command of yourself. And in that moment that you are present and aware and self-loving and self-trusting, that's how you can facilitate real, true, productive, easy, joyful healing. Because again, you're in full autonomy. You are conscious, right? And you can't regulate yourself if you're not conscious, if you're not present. You can't give yourself love. You can't take a deep, long breath and release, whatever it is that you need to release. You can't make conscious healing choices if you're not conscious and you're just unconsciously showing up for your life in a very stressful, desperate, impatient, wounded way. So your nervous system, again, can only heal when you're in a state of relaxation and or regulation. That doesn't mean you have to live in like a total state of Zen all the time. It just means that you have to have like a better relationship with stress, right? Becoming aware of, I'm tense right now. Why am I tense? Why am I stressed? Is it mental, emotional, physical? Is this necessary? Is this acute? Is this adaptive? Like, why am I showing up for this moment in a tense and stressful way? When you can cultivate that by, foundationally cultivating that relationship with yourself and then cultivating greater self-awareness, then you can change that relationship with the stresses in your life. You can then become more validating of why it is you're stressed and more loving towards those aspects of yourself. And that innately allows you to regulate yourself because you're telling your nervous system, I'm in command of the moment right now. There's no danger. All right, I understand what's happening. This is a past wounded version of myself. This is a reflection of an experience that I haven't emotionally processed yet, but I'm here, I'm conscious, I'm present now, and I'm willing to give myself love, validation, attention, and care. And the more that you do that, the more that you show up in your healing journey that way, fully present, fully at ease, right? No resistance to whatever is coming up. You're going to release yourself from that notion of time because time is irrelevant then. It doesn't matter. It has time versus present moment. Like there's no contest there. No contest. It's all present moment. Time is just a series of present moments. And so that process of building that relationship with yourself, of loving yourself, of regulating yourself, of giving yourself permission to just fucking relax in your life and be at ease with yourself, that's the healing process, friend. And it requires radical self-acceptance because you can't trust yourself, and that means you can't heal yourself if you don't accept all parts of yourself. Because if you don't radically accept yourself, that means that you cannot radically love yourself, which means that your lovability is dependent on something outside of you. And then that makes it very difficult to trust in yourself and in your healing journey, in your mind, in your body, in your soul, because you're not fully embodied in your worth. Your worth is then conditional, just like your own sense of lovability is conditional. And that's why timelines and external expectations, they diminish your innate power when you measure your healing journey by them. Because in essence, what you're saying is your healing is not worthy. It's not enough unless it meets those timelines, unless it meets those expectations. So then your healing journey is then conditional. And that's a very disempowered way and narrative to heal from. Again, healing's not about becoming whole. It's not about becoming worthy. Those are intrinsic to you because you exist. You're already lovable, unconditionally lovable exactly as you are because you exist. Those are your core innate truths. Healing, again, is just a reclamation, right? It's you reclaiming. You never lost it. It was not like not there from the start. It's you reclaiming your wholeness, your wellness, your freedom. And that means that healing is a profound act of self-love, a profound act of self-empowerment, self-acknowledgement, self-acceptance. When you engage in your healing journey from those truths, from those innate, core, soul-level truths, of course you're going to relax more easily in your healing journey because you don't have anything to prove. Love is not bound by time, right? Wholeness is not bound by time. Worthiness is not bound by time. So when you're operating in your healing journey from that sense of self-love, from that sense of wholeness and innate worthiness, time not only slows down, but again, it ceases to exist. It becomes irrelevant. And that's the same thing that happens when you heal from love. When your healing is an act of love, is your expression of love for yourself. Time doesn't matter because love cannot be bound by time. So by prioritizing yourself more, that includes giving yourself permission to slow down, to give fewer fucks, to stop caring about what's happening outside of you, what people think of you, and focusing on simply loving yourself more, you're going to heal more. Because really that is what healing is. It is just you returning to yourself, and you are love. You are made of love. That is central to your existence. And you can't rush love. You can't force love. It's just, it's fundamental to our being. It's why we crave it, because it's so essential to who we are and what we are. And that's why it's also the great equalizer. It's our true essence. So when we operate from our true essence, which is love, then we are in a natural state of harmony, of resonance, of coherence. And that's why love naturally dissolves time. And that's why when you heal from love for yourself, for your healing journey, when you treat your healing journey as an act of love, you forget about time because you're free of time. So if you want to be able to relax into your healing journey so that you can effortlessly prioritize it in a more harmonized balance with the rest of your life, you have to learn to love yourself more. And that self-love is going to allow you to trust yourself more, and that's going to allow you to love and trust your healing journey more. So here is your action step for the week, friend. Give yourself permission to slow down and to do less while cultivating self-trust and self-love. So that means when you tell yourself, hey, I don't need to rush this. Hey, I don't need to do that right now. Own that conscious healing choice. Like don't go back and forth. There's no need to debate it. Just say, I'm going to slow down, period. I don't need to do that right now. I can just relax, period. That's you fostering greater self-love. That's you fostering greater self-trust. When you do less and you slow down, you innately become less preoccupied with time, timelines, expectations, external validation, and you are more connected to yourself because you are more present. You are less distracted. You are consciously detaching from energetic cords, from past wounding that diminishes your ability to experience how whole and free and radiant you already are. And in that, slowing down, doing less, just appreciating your amazing, beautiful self, you're going to heal because that is, again, what healing is. And the more that you embody that energy of, I'm enough as I am. This moment, I don't need to prove. In this moment, I don't need to rush. In this moment, I don't need to know what time it is because I'm at peace with being myself, regardless of who I am right now or where I am right now. You're going to be so much less stressed. And that's what your mind and your body need. They literally need you to stress less and relax more in order to heal. And so by focusing on those little moments of becoming really present and allowing yourself to be free, even if it's for 2 fucking seconds, that 2 seconds of freedom in your day is going to be a massive release and relief for your nervous system and your mind and your body. And the more that you do that, the more that you go, I'm okay right now. I don't need to stress about that. I don't need to do that immediately. I don't need to force this. I can just be with myself and love myself exactly as I am and just chill in this moment and appreciate that, wow, I am magnificent and I am blessed and I'm here for some grand reason. You connect to those higher truths when you're fully present. You're no longer tethered to those wounded narratives. You're actually then available to your higher truths and wisdom. And not only is your mind and your body yes, thank you for relaxing. We can heal now. But your soul is going to be so happy that they have a clearer, stronger channel to you. And that's when life becomes really magical because you're not only healing, but you're thriving. Thank you so much for joining me today in The Simple Source. I hope this episode has inspired you, reminded you of your healing power, and reawakened you to who your true and highest self is. If the show has empowered and enlightened your self-love, growth, and healing journey, please share this episode, leave a positive review on Apple or Spotify, and subscribe to be reminded of new episodes. I am so grateful for your presence, and all of your comments and your support are seen and read and deeply appreciated. They really do help this show so much. Also, sign up for my newsletter, The Weekly Source, to get more healing tips, motivation stories, and to get to know me better. And if you haven't read my book, Unconditional, You Are Perfect As You Are, I invite you to get your copy today and start reading. And lastly, I would love to see you inside my Source membership, the only holistic and comprehensive step-by-step self-healing program that is proven to work. It's time to stop struggling to heal and time to learn how to thrive more simply and joyfully. All the links are in the show notes. Thanks again for joining me today, and I will see you next time.